Hey everyone, welcome back to the finale of season 5, Harley Quinn. This is the Harley Quinn podcast. I am your host, Vanessa, with my fellow host, Keenan and Mike. How are you guys doing? Mike?
Doing good. I'm just glad that the show is over, or at least for the season.
Aye, aye, aye.
I'm saddened though because I enjoy talking about this show with you guys. So I'm waiting for the next show, whatever that may be. But yeah.
Anyway, who the hell is this? Keenan, how are you doing?
I'm great. Yeah, I'm ready for the next project though.
Yeah, I feel that. There's a couple of news items before we get into the episode. More Lanterns news. Jason Ritter, who apparently is famous or something. He was on MATLAB. Whatever.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, he is been added as a recurring star to Lanterns, which is cool. He's playing a character named Billy Macon. So this character is grabbed a good-looking charmer who does his father's bidding, capitalizing on his family's reputation. He clings to his small-town ego and has everything to lose. So who is this person? Why is Bane here? Who is this? I'm removing this. What is that mean? Anyway.
I think you should remove Bane, though. I mean, he is part of a show.
Anyway, and then some other news.
Pasta maker! Surprise! I watched every season to get to surprise you all, finally, to watch Harley Quinn.
Okay, we're still going through the news. You're gonna let me know beforehand, man.
Anyway, it was meant to be a surprise.
Anyway, DC Studios. There's some rumors that Peter Safran might be moving to manage
manage the main IP of Warner Brothers. So like basically everything that Peter Safran was doing. First he was doing that with the horror division, with the Conjuring side, and then he's doing this with DC. He want to put Peter Safran a more bigger responsibility on terms of all of Warner Brothers as a whole, as he's trying to move certain studio heads and stuff. But I think that conversation hopefully will become more clear in 2 weeks because they will be there. And I remember the two individuals that he's actually moving out were also presenters last year, and I was like, who the hell are these guys? And I saw the pitch, like, oh yeah, that guy, yeah, he was horrible. But I think, I don't know, I'm not worried about this because again, the move Superman still has not come out yet. I can't say about having concerns about moving Peter Safran because either way, DC is still under the umbrella of Warner Brothers as a whole. So saying that Peter Safran is just having more responsibility, sure, but it does put more pressure on James as a creative producer on these projects and everything. Now, I don't want him to be stretched thin, obviously, but I think as over time, we'll see more people coming into those positions as we see this universe plays out. So I'm not trying to have any sense of worry or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, they do Warner Brothers need it? They sure do. But so any help they can get, take it,
Right. Yeah. Any thoughts on that? The possible, I mean, it hasn't been confirmed, so it's possible, but maybe we'll get an update at CinemaCon, who knows. But any thoughts on that, guys? I'm also on the Lanterns casting.
No, all I'm concerned is as long as they're telling good stories. Tell good stories, don't rush projects, and just feed me something wonderful.
Yeah, I agree. Any thoughts, Andy?
Can't we just have David Zaslav just move away? Like, he's the problem. Like, I don't want. I mean, I think Peter Safran moving from these studios to Warner, but I'm like, okay, yay. I mean, if that works for them, sure. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like, again, these are like a lot of early conversations that we're probably not supposed to be hearing, and it's just the trades. Just well, I don't even know what the original source for this was. I think, but yeah, I mean, if Peter moves, I'm sure someone will take over for Peter at these studios because James is there really for the the creative side. Let filmmakers not worry about numbers and let someone else who works with numbers worry about numbers.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I don't really have any thoughts about it, especially because it's not confirmed, and I feel like people in the DC fandom end up freaking out about stuff a little bit prematurely, and I know a lot's riding on Superman, and if this movie flops, then it's pretty much the end of DC as we know it, making live action films. Like that's pretty much going to be the death of.
Well, it's just Batman Forever. But aside from
literally,
that, like, there'll always be Batman movies.
Yeah, that's literally all we're getting. We won't be getting anything else. If Superman does not succeed this summer, it's over. Like, it's over. So, and then by succeed, I mean it needs to make like a lot of money worldwide. It needs to make $1 billion. Like, we have to be realistic about this. Like, this is not. There's been too many mistakes and too many flops. The DC barely has audience trust anymore. Like, just barely. They're riding on the most hopeful symbol, which it's fitting, right? Like,
yes, I understand, but I think it's also how great would it be just as a a triumph in history for us as DC fans, the fact that this was your last leg and you have the title character coming in to save the day. And for a brighter future or a brighter tomorrow, so so I have hope, but at the same time, they're moving production with Supergirl and other things. Everything that James has been attached to related DC has been critically and audience wise been received well. So, but again, cinematically, because I understand the Suicide Squad came out during the pandemic, and that was a whole streaming on the same day theatrical release. Worst idea ever, but this I think
pandemic times were crazy. Like, no one knew what the hell to do. I think everyone was just at a loss of what to do. They're like, I guess we could try this, and it clearly didn't work. And I think those are lessons learned. I agree. But yeah, all right. Let's move on to the finale, guys. I know Mike is tired. Mike is tired of this season. Overall, I did like this season a lot, more than I enjoyed the last two seasons. But there were some odd choices that were made this season. The finale, I didn't mind. I liked the finale. I thought it was a good finale. We at least got to see Superman. Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't watched the episode for some reason listening to this. What did we think about the episode overall before we dive into the details? Andy, what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, as always been like just binging every season for these last couple of weeks. Just just to kind of clarify, like, as I was like seeing you guys talk about Harley Quinn, I'm like, maybe I should start watching the show. Like, so I started watching it more, and I'm like, okay, this is good. And then I get into season 2, I get into season 3, I get into season 4, and I'm like, okay, like also like the Valentine's special. Oh, that was pure genius. And then I get to season 5, and I'm like, what are we doing in Metropolis? But no, I getting to the finale, like, I'm not gonna lie, this kind of felt like this is it. Like, that this was like a series finale. Like, and I mean, no, you guys are way more well versed into Harley Quinn than I am, so but like it just felt different this time from like all the other finales.
Mm-hmm. What do you guys think, Mike?
I'll go last.
Keaton.
Oh God, that's hilarious. It did have a sense of finality to it. It's like, if we want to move on, we can, but it's very much like Buffy season 3. Like, if we can keep going if we want, but she graduated, and that's good.
Yeah, that's a good point. Mm-hmm. Mike.
Yeah. Again, certain things that was in the finale, like event wise and stuff, they resolved Brainiac and all that stuff, and Lena and Lex and stuff. I mean, again, they wrapped up this story, and the big thing why I like this show, or why I was a fan of this show, really was more the relationship aspects that they hide in their comedy, but more important, like just with the characters, with these DC characters, and how much there's a relatability factor to it. Not the fact that you're also having a predominant, lesbian, couple here, but regardless the audience, whether you're straight or not, whatever, they actually have some like healthy displays of relationship and also toxic ones as well. And kind of just in the situation of it all in the world of DC, they're able to find some humanity in those stories, right? And you have some of that in this episode. again with Harley and Ivy not being, mothers, and now having her mother, coming through and stuff like that. But and but at the same time, there's just like small things in there that they wrote something good only just for it just to do some meaningless joke that kind of like come across as very superficial and low-key frustrating, especially with certain characters that I love, like in DC. But yeah, we'll get into it. But aside from that, DC logic, I mean, I didn't know blowing bubbles in space was like a fucking thing that you can do. I didn't know plants can do that. I mean, I thought
Super
plants need
bubble.
oxygen, like they need oxygen, to thrive, and apparently that can block air holes in space. Man,
listen, it's a cartoon. No,
You know what,
one
Mike? It's all the
correction.
power of the green.
Yes.
Power of the green.
Yeah, the green exists in space too.
Well, it's the wrong green. There is green that can save them in this situation. I mean, a freaking lantern ring can come in handy in this bitch. But like the green in terms of plants, like in fucking space.
How?
All right, hold on.
wild would it
One
have been if
correction I
Harley
want to
told-
say.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry. One correction. Harley and Ivy are not a lesbian couple. They're both bisexuals, so they are technically a sassy couple.
Oh, okay. My bad.
They're not lesbians. They are both bisexual women. So
My bad.
It's like as a bisexual.
It's okay. It's okay, Mike. We would have canceled you if it had happened during Pride Month. So.
Well, just the fact is on like that's their main thing thriving through this show. Like you don't really see these like type of relationships in mainstream media, but especially in comics. But like they're a very predominant relationship. I felt like we're still waiting to see live action wise. So it's like so that's where I'm like, as a fan of these characters, I just don't want it to be like, oh, this show was like meant for nothing because you have these small little, character choices that kind of make the heart of this show irrelevant, which is the heart of the show is their relationship, which is why I'm a fan of it. So, but yeah, so that the fact we got to 5 seasons, again, anything 5 seasons with DC characters that I love. I mean, again, I champion that, but you do felt like, hey, if this was done, is this no more, I'll be okay. And they're kind of like, oh, we need to find something to wrap this up. That's
Keenan, what were you gonna say?
I completely forgot. It'll come to me later. I completely forgot.
No worries. All right. So really, it did feel it did feel very final. Like we don't know if we have no confirmation that season 6 is coming. That is in the hands of the DC Studios, Warner Brothers gods, and Max as well. If Max wants to renew the show, then if they don't want it, but DC does want to renew it, they might end up going somewhere else. It could end up on Cartoon Network or Amazon. There's other studios that could do Harley Quinn. However, if they decide not to do it, it most likely will just end. And this is probably a good season to end on. I don't know how much more they can do, like the current creative team can do with this show. It seems like we know where their limit, there's obviously limits to where they can go. And I think I'm good with, we don't need, if that's the limitations we have, like they have to have like Batman in the season, they have to have certain things, then I think I'm good. Like, I don't know if I need another season if we can't break them out of a box. Like the comic companion series, like had them on a road trip and had them interacting with Vixen and doing other stuff. And it was so enriching to see that. And I feel like the show limits them to doing certain same things over and over again.
They're not
allowed, and I feel like that's because they're not allowed to do certain things, which makes sense. That's out of the creative team's control. But if they're just like, nah, we just want to keep doing this because it's successful, like it gets the return, like it gets boring. Like I was so excited. Like I still think that like the decision to go to Metropolis was a good one because like it shook up the formula a little bit, especially in the first 4 episodes. But I do think the show ended up going back to its like the same things, same cycles it always goes into. Yeah, the same formula, exactly. And I think I'm like, if we're gonna keep doing that and not break out of the truly break out of the box, I don't need a 6th season. You know what I mean? Like I enjoy Harley and Ivy in all forms. Like I read the comics, they're Gucci in the comics, like read Poison Ivy series and Harley's standalone series. They both make appearances. They're both dating each other. Yes, they're there's a polyamorous aspect with Janet from HR, whatever. If you know, you know. But there are other avenues. There are other ways to use Harley
Mike,
and Ivy.
I'm obsessed with the Zoom.
I know the Zoom, the dramatic, so good. But yeah, I do want to talk about the Luthors and Frankette we'll talk about that with her swallowing up. They're still alive technically, I think, in her body. But let's talk about them basically reconnecting, bonding, and then it just kind of falling apart, and then fighting, and then then Brainiac suicidal and all this stuff. Like there was just a lot that happened in this episode that we could break down. I want to talk about the Luthors. What do you guys think of the Luthors reuniting, getting along, and then doing what they always do, fighting, and then getting eaten up by a plant? Keenan?
I was like, okay, getting them back together, not a great idea. Not a great idea at all. The last thing you want are two Luthors on the same page. Okay. But also breaking them apart was just as easy.
Right. It's so true. And that's a good parallel to like Harley and Ivy and like Lena trying to break them apart, and then eventually like it didn't even last like an episode, you know, them getting mad at each other or whatever.
Right.
It's like Luthor's. They're obviously or allegedly have a stronger bond because they're blood family, and look how they just kind of collapsed. What'd you think of the Luthors, Mike?
Yeah, and I just felt one thing I liked about the previous episode was that you're getting more sense of the relationship and why is it just you feel some sympathy. Now I'm only child, so I wouldn't understand, but I know like siblings, and my wife doesn't have her siblings and that whole relationship, so I can only imagine, with that as adults, dealing with childhood trauma with both, his brother and sister and everything, but also in the Luthor family, how that also adds another dynamic as well. And as I said, I wish there would have been more, that there was dialogue, but just kind of more maybe possibly a flashback or something like maybe with Lionel Luthor or something, kind of just giving a sense of that, finding some humanity in Lena for her to realize, oh wait, I just, I'm not supposed to do this or whatever. But at the Luthor fashion, like think about it, Smallville, Lex killed his father, and then so just like, hey, I mean, Luthor's in there, I'll drop you real quick. I don't care, you have my last name, or your bald head, I'm gonna get you. So yeah. I think it's just what you expected from these toxic people, and then thinking that they can rally, and collab with each other, thinking that's going to be great, and like, no, it's just going to be more devastation. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. What do you think? Did I already ask you, Keenan?
Yes, Keenan. Yes.
Andy, what did you think of the Luthors?
First of all, I was not ready for a world where I had Aisha Tyler as Lena Luthor. That was just fucking amazing. No, but listen, like this is what you would expect from the Luthor siblings, and like I don't know, like I think in the end, like if they just gone along, like and there was no like arguing whatsoever, I think it would have been like this doesn't really feel like Lena and Lex, they're supposed to be like kind of polar opposites. But yeah, no, I mean, listen, they were. I mean, Lena was a fun villain this season, because when she came in, I was like expecting her, like, okay, cool, like she will kind of be like the mogul connection for Ivy and Harley, but to see her like really become like the big bad, because like when I initially seen that Brainiac, which by the way, in a world where we get to live with Stephen Fry as Brainiac, I did not. That's a sentence that is still like, oh my god to me. But seeing her like evolve to that, and now they're like these tiny little things inside Frankette. I'm like, that's not gonna end well. At some point, like she's probably gonna get sick of them, like physically sick of them, and so but that is assuming that we have another season. So, but yeah, it was fun seeing them just wreaking chaos and eventually like being their undoing basically.
Yeah, as someone who has a big brother, I really relate to like the Lex, especially the little backflash or the flashback, the flashback we got in the last episode where we were where they were like fighting and like you can't like I literally me and my brother used to get into fights all the time and he would like get off my stuff and I'm like that's not like my mom has a vivid memory of me snatching something out of my brother's hand and hitting myself in the head with it when I was a kid. So like I get it so much. And like my brother and I are like, he's one of my closest. He's like the one who got me into comic books. He's the reason why I'm such a comic book nerd. That he's like he's a dancer for the Cavs Scream team. He's like I'm so proud of him. And like this, just like looking at their relationship and like thinking about my relationship with brother, I'm like, holy shit! Some people just never grow out of the toxic sibling rivalry bullshit. And
it's a shame.
Yeah, and it's because of their parents. Their mom has almost never, either she's dead or she's almost never involved in their lives. And Lionel is a garbage piece of shit across the board. Doesn't matter if you're watching Smallville. Doesn't matter if you're watching or reading the comics. Doesn't matter. That dude sucks. He's a terrible father, and you can hear even from the quotes that they're saying, like you never be good enough or whatever they were saying, and like, oh, you're soft. Like these are things that come. Who's telling them these things? Their dad. There's no reason for them to think like this. Their father raised them wrong. Like your parents are supposed to raise, if you're raising siblings, you're supposed to raise them to be friends, not like, I mean, healthy competition is fine, but it boiled over to the point where she literally was going to kill them both because she wanted them to apologize. That is insane. Little, but I get it.
Yeah.
Because when you have a toxic, shitty relationship with your sibling, nothing else matters because that's the person that you're supposed to be. That's the person that you rely on when you can't rely on your parents. You know what I mean? Like that is who you're supposed to have. That's who has your back. So I get Lena. I feel like Lena is me if I went the evil route. You know what I mean? Like if I went more like a capitalist billionaire, like with a shitty older brother, like that, Lena is me in an evil universe. Like I get her, which is why I think I appreciate her a lot as a villain. I'm glad she didn't have a redemption arc. Like I want her to keep being.
Yes. Yeah.
I love a petty villain. I love a petty villain. Like I don't need to feel sorry for that. I want them some stupid thing to piss them off, and that's what sent them over the edge. Those are the most fun villains.
Reverse Flash. That's my shit right there.
It doesn't make any sense, but you understand why. It's like, okay. I mean, now if that same situation happened to me, like I wouldn't act that way. But then at the same time, do I know people like this exist? Yes.
Because you were raised right, Mike.
Right. You were raised right. Right. But you made a very good point though. Like why I enjoyed this show, because like even all these characters, even with Bruce, you know, his relationship with Damian and some of the points also with Dick as well, is like those, and then I'm just waiting for those moments cinematically. But anyway, like the template's there, just fucking use it. But like this is why, you know, you love this aspect of DC, because again, it's like it reminds you about who you know in your own personal life too. Like Flash having imposter syndrome or something like that, you know, like, you know, all those things. It's like it's layers why I love these DC characters. But to Lena, like we don't have to have a moment where it's like, oh, you know, she just a misunderstood hero, and you're like, no.
Yeah, not everything has to be low key, basically, you know, because I feel that's become a problem in superhero media. Like ever since, you know, again, I love Tom Hiddleston. I love what he did with Loki, but I feel like after his breakout role from Thor and Avengers, I feel like Hollywood superhero media was kind of like, now we have to have a villain like that to make villains interesting. But like, no, you can make interesting villains for the sake of them being villains. You know, so it just matter how you execute it. And I think, you know, in this, like I love that they're fighting that Luthors are petty, and that's why, you know, like, you know, I mean, Lex Luthor literally hates Superman because
he gets more attention than him.
Basically.
Yeah. And that's a good point. But another point to your Loki thing is the advent of like people realizing in Hollywood, like, oh, people want to fuck villains, let's make them fuckable. So part of that is to make them redeemable. That's part of it.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
So if no one wants to fuck Joffrey from Game of Thrones, right? Because he's a irredeemable piece of shit. But if you have
that the little kid guys,
like doing like being like so then you get to it engages the audience more, like and then you can sell that person as like the star, you know. That's why he gets his own show and all that stuff. So that's part of it too, is like making the villain redeemable as making the villain fuckable as part of the whole redeemable thing, and like why it's becoming a thing. It's like not just heroes are like action stars and like marketable. Now villains can be marketable too. That is a newer thing that's happened. I think I'd attribute that to probably like the Loki-fication of
no, don't blame Loki, blame Disney.
Yeah.
Blame
Disney, right?
Maleficent. Maleficent, who is my favorite villain. Disney, like Disney-fied Maleficent for that movie.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
she was a
That's
petty
the part.
villain. She went off because she did not get an invite.
I know.
And I listen, and I empathize with that. I tell people all the time, just extend the invite. You know they're gonna say no, just extend the invite.
Yep.
Trust me,
Because
it's
I've
gonna
been there.
save someone's feelings.
Yes, like I may not have wanted to go, but I still want to be invited.
Yeah, I want to be
I'm not gonna
considered.
go
Yeah.
curse the whole village.
I'm doxing your family. Like, no, but I still want to be invited. Like, that's exactly the core of a good villain to me. I agree with Keenan, is pettiness for sure. Like, because otherwise you're just like understandable. Like, okay, I get it. Like, I think that's the difference with like, because the media is painting certain people who shoot healthcare CEOs as villains, but there's a reason why people don't see that as villainous, because of they see the CEO as villainous. There is a difference between sympathizing with the villain because they have like something to sympathize with versus someone who's like, I blew up this school because they wouldn't let me see my child. That's evil. That's evil, right? There is nothing redeemable about that. So I think there's like the type of pettiness, or that's not even really petty, that's just evil. But you know what I mean? Like doing something so heinous because of a small slight, that's like the core of villainy, I think. But anyway, we're going way down the rabbit hole of villainy. Speaking of villains, let's talk about Brainiac.
It's a good conversation.
We can talk about Brainiac. Let's talk about Brainiac and his. I think he had the best arc of any of the villains of any of the seasons. I think he had a really great arc, even though it ended in his suicide, basically. What do we think about Brainiac's arc, his ending, and how seeing his family for last time, and Coco is his family. But yeah, what do we think, Mike? Unless you want to go last.
No. I mean, I had no issue with Brainiac. No, I think he was kind of saving grace of this season. To be honest with you, because there's another side of Brainiac we really haven't seen before. Like, in any way, they try to take, let's take parts why people like Brainiac 5, and let's try to see in a way where we can put on actual, Brainiac Prime, but not, make him a hero. It's just like you just understand him on an emotional level. And so I feel like that's where they kind of made a hybrid of this. Even like using, him being insane and also like going out breaking the fourth wall, and using that to like the part of his character, the fact that he is intellectually insane, but at the same time, it's like, there is also some truth in what some of the things that he's saying, and realizes like, some things are not logical, and this probably won't respond a lot. There's no such thing as really striving for perfection. Even then, and because of people striving for perfection, I think the metaphor of it all really is kind of just saying that eventually, if you don't let that mindset go, it will lead to your demise. And by your own self, because you just, it's self-destructive in terms of, of holding that type of mindset of striving for perfection. But yeah, I thought he served his purpose, this season. Now, I would have liked to have, Brainiac and Superman interact, but that's just, he's not the star of the show. So
fair. Keenan, what do you think?
So I feel like Brainiac was probably one of the more interesting characters that we've had in the show. And like the Brainiac episode is probably, when I talk about this show in the future, that episode, and I think the Valentine's Day special, will be ones that I'll tell people you need to watch. They're very good. You won't know what's going on, but they're these are things that I think I would introduce someone to this show watching.
That's good. Andy, what did you think of the Brainiac of it all?
Listen, because when I was talking to Dean Laurie, the showrunner of Harley Quinn, one of the things I said, and I will repeat it here, that I always, anytime we see Brainiac, they always do something different with him in various medium, and they did it here too. The fact that he had a family and stuff like that, I'm like, why is this so adorable? Like, why is this something I've been like wanting to see from him? So, like kind of just seeing like the character who is always like, he needs a pattern, he needs logic, he needs he needs structure. Finally, just kind of like let loose. Like that's the kind of chaos I live for. So I thought it was very, very admirable. But again, just the fact just hearing like Stephen Fry talk as Brainiac, I'm like, listen, that's a casting I never would have guessed 10 times 10 years ago. So yeah, no, it was fun.
Yeah,
But I agree with Mike. I think it would have been fun to see him and Superman together at least in one scene.
Yeah, I guess I didn't even think about that until you said that. I was like, oh yeah, that's a good point. I didn't like. I just was so. I love that they brought in Brainiac as his own character and not as like a foil for Superman, because it shows that Brainiac can exist outside of Superman. But yeah, I would have liked to see, because that is of all the villains, all the Superman villains, Brainiac and Darkseid are like his two most intimidating. Like Doomsday, sure, he killed Superman, but he's just like a mindless monster, except unless you're reading Joshua Williamson's run right now where he's also the mind trapper. Anyway, I think Darkseid and Brainiac are his, like, because Superman, you can punch his way through anything. He is like, he could do anything, but the absence of hope and someone who's so much smarter than him and has everything is all logic and no heart. Those are two concepts that, like, I think confuse, like, fuck up Superman the most, because he is hope and he is all heart. So I think like Brainiac and Darkseid are good villains for him. And I don't know. I guess I agree. I think I would have liked to see that, but I don't mind, because this is Harley and Ivy's show, that the way that they ended Brainiac's storyline, I think it makes sense. He was like a suppressed intellectual who lost everything and decided to end his life. And that is sad. That's really sad. And I don't know what else to say about it. Pour one out for Vril Dox the First. Thought he was easily one of the best villains we've had on the show. And yeah.
Agreed.
We can talk about the air bubbles if everyone
Listen, I this was my reaction. First I go, super bubble. Then I'm like, okay, I'm not a comic book reader, so I'm gonna yield to Vanessa and ask, is this the thing that happens?
It's not even about comic books. It's the fact that there's space is a vacuum. There's literally no air.
Exactly.
So you don't even read the comic books, you're like, this is. He can. My only thing is that he was holding oxygen in his lungs the entire time he was out there, and then that's what happened. But that's a stretch. So yeah, it was a little silly because the plant was creating oxygen, but like, how can you create oxygen in space?
I like to pride myself on a high level of suspension of disbelief. But then when he starts pushing on the bubble to get them back home, I was like, no, I can't.
Mike,
I accept a lot of things. You even said, Vanessa, in the last episode, Keenan, you're typically pretty positive on things. I accept a lot.
I know, you do. I think we have a good array. But you're always on the positive side.
But I was like, oh, okay.
Damn, they lost Keenan on that one too. It's very. Keenan's been riding strong this whole season, and they lost him with the super bubble. Mike, what were your thoughts? Unless you want to go last. Actually, I'm going to make you go last. Andy, what are your thoughts?
Listen, like. They already started losing me when the ship like imploded and they're just like floating in space. I'm like, they should be dead now. Like, it doesn't take like, oh yeah, you have 5 minutes left to live, to live or something. Like for me, here's the thing: when the bubble came out, here's what I thought was gonna happen. I'm like, why is there first I was like, why is there a bubble coming out of his mouth? But I'm like, oh no, you know what he's gonna do? He's gonna do the bubble, and then he's gonna use his freeze breath, and then just take them down back to Earth or something like that before it melts. And then like he goes inside the bubble. They start talking. First of all, like I don't know how they're hearing him. Like you don't hear in space. So somehow I'm like, okay, there's gonna be an exclamation or something. But then he takes them and flies with the bubble. And I'm like, it's a cartoon. 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 But I don't understand. Like again, it becomes one of those memeable moments. Like I feel every DC show has at least once in every season of every show has at least one memeable moment where like super bubble talking in space and then flying the bubble without even like. I mean, he must have been very delicate of just like I don't know, like it was funny as
Gingerly
hell.
using his super speed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like it was very gentle, very demure, and like listen. It didn't like again. I still enjoyed the season. I still enjoyed the finale, but again, it's one of those moments where I'm like, I can rewatch this scene over and over and over again, and I'm gonna find a new problem every time I watch it. But now I really wanna hear what Mike has to say.
Yeah, Mike, what you got to say?
Listen, I remember back in when I was a kid, Justice League Unlimited. That even then, that show was smarter than this show. When they episode when Mazo returned, and they had a whole fleet of like military Justice League members that could fly or whatever, or and basically they were all going to throw all their ammo and shooting at Mazo. It didn't work, but what happened was Superman was there, but he had a suit and he covered his mouth. He was able to speak with people with comms. So people who were in ships. John Stewart, Green Lantern, he's a lantern, so he can, say that and everything. But it was logically like, how can he actually speak in conversation? Like, why would Superman? Because they're communicating, right? So it makes sense. Oh yeah, everybody's in space, and then it's like, all right, you ready? Let's go. So in this situation here, it was like, okay, I rather prefer they just kill them. Is at this point, it's like that was the point of like you making that sad. It's like, because I understand you were dragging us on saying, oh no, this is the last hope. Oh, blah blah blah. I'm like, you should have done that at before there was even an escape pod to begin with. If you're gonna do that, just have Superman just take the entire ship and just move it, whatever, and do something, whatever, to bring it back. But have the escape pod on top of all the the cities that was locked in it, and have Frankette, just blow a bubble and stuff. I was like, wait, what's going on here? And it's like, oh, she's giving us air bubbles and stuff like that. All right, I was like, okay. And then when Superman came, and then just to do that and have a full on like fucking conversation and shit, and just like they move all these, that's where I was like, kind of. I literally was in a text message just like Keenan said what, like I said what, that's like what, and then all of a sudden they do the blowing shit, and I was like, this is bullshit, it's like I was just like, come on, it's like, again, there's logic and then there's comic book logic, right? And then there's just being freaking stupid, it's just like, this is who's like, who wrote this? It's like it's like it's like that anyway. But that's not the thing that actually pissed me off, where I was actually like done with this episode. It was one small line that was made by Lois Lane when we're back on Earth, that she's at calling Clark and whatever, after she's like craving, oh, I missed you and all that stuff like that, and then she calls Clark and stuff, say, hey Clark, I'm at work. Oh, gosh, you're so annoying, leave me alone. I was like, fuck you. Like, it's like, seriously, I said that reminded me of freaking X. Like, you complain about shit, and then when you get it, it's like, oh gosh, get away. Like, what? And it's like, and it, out of all characters, Lois Lane saying that shit, it's like, that was stupid. That's what I'm like, oh, that come on. It was just one line, but it's like it just erased every emotional point of this show. Like, Lois Lane should have been a freaking more supporting character, along like you had like with Catwoman and other stuff in previous seasons and stuff like that. It's like, and not to make her just a stereotypical love interest, whatever, but that relationship between her and Superman, that's a very pivotal relationship. And the fact that he's gone, like, he's having sabbatical, rightfully so. He's Superman. He got feelings too. So like, like, oh, nobody needs me. People think I'm corny. Like, yeah, tackle on those themes. And you as a journalist talking about, like the craziness is going on in the city, and also these characters that will just blatantly kill. Yes, Superman can kill these people instantly. Doesn't, how about that? Like, it just be a healthy partner. And I just like, I just felt like that line just really pissed me off. Like, now, like, I am married now, I'm blessed, but I'm like, the show is strong when they're going on relationship themes, regardless of the plot, of all of it and everything. But only just to do that shit. That's like, you didn't even do that with like a villain. You did that with a hero character. Like, come on.
Yeah. I think I'll clarify something. I agree with you. I think the way they used Lois this season was annoying, and I also feel like something was rewritten at the last minute because she used this code to and it made it seem like they were going to set up for like this big reunion with them, and then they never did that, and then it felt like they were like they had a different idea for the finale that they had to redo or something because it did not connect at all. But I will say that publicly, no one knows that Clark and Superman are the same person. So when she was saying that to Clark, people know that Lois is with Superman. They don't know that she's with Clark. So I think from that I think they were trying to play it off like she was being annoying. Like she was like annoyed at her coworker calling her because no one on the show in that reality knows that Clark and Superman are the same person. Because remember the joke they made earlier where Superman was cheating on Lois with Clark Kent. So no one knows that Lois and Clark are romantically involved. So I think they were playing off of that. But I get your point. I do get your point because because if they if Lois and Superman had a reunion, at least briefly on the show, I feel like that they could have earned that joke later. They didn't earn the joke because we never saw Lois and Superman even together or like reunite. So they didn't earn that joke, and I agree with you. I think it was a little off-putting, but I get why they said that because the joke is that like
no one you explained it. If that was the case, then like that would have been funny because
But I think it would have been better. It would have been better if they had actually reunited them. Yeah. I get your point though. But I think the point. Yeah, I think they were just making a joke like, oh, they're not. Yeah, but it didn't work because we literally built up her calling Superman, and then we never saw them like see each other, which is why I feel like the last episode was like rewritten to like remove that, or maybe it was taken out. And which sucks. Like
they're makes no sense either because like, it's a streaming show. Like you have the time. Like you could have made it a little longer episode.
They may have done it. They may have just cut it. Like it may have been in the episode. They just may have just cut it for time, which is stupid because did we need that extra long? Oh, we're gonna die for the last 10 minutes of the episode.
Like 10 minutes. They dragged it on. Like, okay, I was like, all right, hurry up. Hurry up. We know he's coming.
They were like filling time. And we could have just had Lois and we could have had a single 30 seconds of Lois and Superman reuniting. Just like, oh, you use Morse code. Like they could have made a dirty sex joke, anything. Like they could have done that in their own, but they just didn't include it. I feel like they did have it. They just didn't include it for whatever reason, which annoys me. But yes, Anyway, I think we covered mostly everything. We talked about the bottle deniers last episode and the fact that when they saw Harley's face, or was it Harley's face? Someone's face in the bottle, they were like, oh no, it was Brainiac. He was asking Bane about
Brainiac,
yeah. So they were like, and they bowed down. That was a hilarious moment. I really like that little thread of the bottle deniers. Then we talk like words like COVID deniers. Very, 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 very smart choice to add that in. But yeah, any other last thoughts? Oh, the mess is the point. The episode is called The Mess is the Point. And it was also a very poignant thing that Harley's mom taught Brainiac. What do we think about that before we wrap up this episode? Like as a life quote, what do we think about that? And like that really waking Brainiac up from his depression cycle. Keenan?
I like it. It's very much, you can't plan for everything. So you might as well trying to live that philosophy myself.
Yeah. What about you, Andy?
As I was rewatching this today, after this, I mean, Harley's mom is right. You can't plan for everything. I especially needed to hear that this week. Also, but my CW brain was kind of like, oh my god, but like I kind of shipped them. But.
Listen, Mama Quinn was ready. She
was like, I need to
I hated Harley Quinn's dad so much. I'm like, when he died, I'm like, oh, good. This was
we didn't even talk about his funeral. That's how much we don't like that character. We're like, fuck that man.
Yeah, I forgot he had a funeral. So, but yeah, Harley's mom was. Listen to Harley Quinn's mom.
Yeah, Mike, what do you think about the quote?
Yeah, again, the quote thing was the mess is the point. I mean, again, that That could be a lot of things. I mean, whether not being somebody's career or even their own, relationship or marriage and stuff. And and you when stuff goes left or whatever, stuff goes wrong or whatever, and then you resolve that issue, then you realize, what were we arguing about? That's kind of the point. It's like we just keep moving forward, right? And also that's not going to be perfect, and things are not going to be planned. Like I'm planning for children and other things, planning a new job and all that stuff like that, right? And I'm not going to get every single detail, much as I want to make sure you don't mess anything up. But things you're not going to get it right. It's like I might pick the apple juice or before I pick the milk or something, the formula. It's like, hey, it was in the same bottle. I didn't know it was color coded or something. Like I don't know. Like it just be so those things. Again, you're overthinking, and so you think, creating a mess and everything. But again, the beauty of it is the fact that hey, the perfection is a lie. It's like and I think at the end of the day, when you're looking at things, there's beauty in things where some things that people think that are not as beautiful or with perfection. Like perfection, that's the totem pole. Like, no, it's not everything. You find beauty in a lot of different things. You just gotta look deeper, So even their relationship, like how they started this season and Harley and Ivy's relationship and stuff, like, hey, are we okay? I feel like we have no spark and stuff. And it's like, you were fine. Like and everything's okay. Yes, this room's a mess, but we're good. You want to get taken out again? It's fine. Those things. And so that's where I feel like again, like the title of this episode, if it's the series finale, I don't think it is, but if it is, and on a happy note, and having Mama Gwen come in is also showing some type of healing as well from Harley and her mother's relationship. So way that she's technically a mother to this to Frankette and everything is like, yeah, she's in a new position in life to, hey, now they can show a more healthier side to the next generation and parent,
Right.
So yeah, there's I just like seeing that type of healing and family dynamics and stuff. So but
yeah, I agree. I think as a perfectionist, the mess is the point is like, I'm like, okay, that is, especially someone who is a perfectionist and becomes a mother, there is no order or organization when you have a kid until they go to school and have their own lives and can take care of themselves. The mess is reality, and you have to just like accept that. And you can organize the mess, you can organize the chaos, but the point of life is to live it. And if you're constantly trying to organize and perfect everything, you're spending all your time and energy into that. You're not actually living your life. Like you should learn from those messes, clean them up, and keep moving. And some messes you can't clean up. Some messes it just happens. It's part of like life. And I think that's why I really like the Brainiac character, because I think he was like, I feel like someone was like, went to therapy and like wrote this character out and in the way to teach us something. So I think that was just like a really smart and sweet, like cherry on this season. I think that's a good way to end. And if it is the last season forever, I don't mind it. I think like the show is giving us a lot of good stuff, a lot of bad stuff, but a lot of more good stuff. And I think it's okay if this is the series finale. If it is the series finale, do you guys give me one last thing to say, one last thing about series or Harley Quinn season 5 and the show overall, if this is the end? Keenan?
Go ahead.
I enjoyed how connected the universe was. Like, it was one of those DC projects where you really got to experience their vast world of characters. Like, there was just, because of all the jokes, they were able to introduce so many people. So that was always fun to see someone.
Mm-hmm. Mike?
This is the best, I feel, to me, the best interpretation of Poison Ivy we ever have. Or at least this is my favorite. And I want this to be copied for cinematically. Yeah, cinematically. Like, this is how you didn't make Poison Ivy this type of like, sexualized, character or anything like that. Like, she's a powerful character, but also she have many dimensions. These are PhDs, you know what I mean? But at the same time, like, she's just like Ivy in this show, just like a whole vibe. Like, she's a certain type of woman that exists, but has not been really represented, a lot in terms of like female characters. Harley, I mean, again, you're gonna have different, like Tara Strong, like Margot Robbie, like this for Kaylee as Harley. So, and at first I did not think, like when I heard the casting of it, I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. Right. But it grew on me. But yeah, but to your point, connectivity. Like connectivity was the best part of it. And now going back to roots of DC animation, like when you're in animation, they thrive and they thrive for a reason. So I hope again cinematically we can kind of get this type of vibe. Obviously it doesn't all have to be rated R like this show and everything. But at least relatable and human and stuff like this show and others in the past have done. So
yeah. What about you, Andy?
I wish I got into the show sooner. I will say that. But watching this fifth season, if it is the final one, it is. I think it's a good way to close it out. I agree with you guys that this is a really strong interpretation of Poison Ivy and also her relationship with Harley. If it wasn't clear before, I fucking love Bane of the show. Like this is like again, like I love that it is like Dark Knight Rises inspired mixture with like he's smart. So if I mean the thing is that if this show ends, there could always be spin-offs. There's other corners of the Harleyverse they could visit. I think not Kite Man.
They're already into. Yeah. Oh.
I know. Trust me. One of my colleagues has made it very clear to me at Screenrun that he like Kite Man, like he is out there. So I'm like, cool. But yeah, I mean, if
there's a lot of Bane and Kite Man.
Yeah, but like, I mean, I don't know if I just can. I don't know if I can get through listening to Kite Man because he annoys me. But yeah, if this is the end, we know Harley and Ivy are out there. Again, that's why I love so much. Like in the final shot, they just jump off into the city. We see I don't know why there's a Superman signal now. I'm like, I don't know why he needs a signal.
They moved Metropolis. No one got that? They moved Metropolis.
No. I know, but like, I wasn't sure. Like, why is there a Superman signal? Like, do they use a Superman signal to like call?
The museum. They showed that in the beginning, I think.
Oh yes, that's true. Okay, cool. I miss things. Yeah, no, it's fun. It was a fun finale. Weird finale. Super Bubble. It's like when you look at the Christopher Reeve movies and he just like throws his S at some people. I'm like, that's how weird it got. So, but yeah.
Awesome. All right. So wrap this up. Visit Multiverse of Color for the latest news and info about DC Studios, TV shows, films, all that stuff. All of our stuff is on there. You can check it out. Hopefully we'll be back for Harley Quinn podcast, but if this is the end, that's okay, because I think this show has given us a lot and I don't know how much more it can give us, to be honest. But before we go, where can our listeners find you, Keenan?
You can find me on Blue Sky and Instagram at Keeks on Camera and the Rewind podcasts on both platforms.
What about you, Mike?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and all of that at Jedi Mike 7. Brought to you by Solo Media. And got some coverage and interviews coming out next week and stuff for some few actors you probably are aware of and stuff. So, I'm looking forward to 2 weeks and my Prosecco.
Yeah. What about you, Andy? Where can our listeners follow you?
They can find me at Adam, but on all social media. I am a senior writer and interviewer for Screener.com. So if you're looking for superhero coverage or interviews from your various shows or movies, that's where you can find me at. And of course, at Multiverse of Color, where I get to work with all of these amazing people and a lot of other members who bust their asses off. And I'm excited for CinemaCon to see what you guys get to experience. And I can't believe it's only 2 weeks left, so it's time flies by.
Yeah.
What? Wait, what's because Superman. Okay, I was like, wait a minute.
You can find me at Vanessa Shark on Instagram and Blue Sky and all that, and you will also find me at CinemaCon in 2 weeks with Mike and Gotham Geek Girl and whoever else. Oh, lots of people, so many people. I'm so excited. I cannot wait for Superman's presentation. That'll be on April 1st. Yeah, follow us on all platforms because we'll be posting stuff on various platforms. Until next time, hopefully this isn't the end, but if it is, you'll find us we'll be doing DC Studio stuff regardless anyway. Yeah, until next time. Bye, y'all.
Bye.